Hi guys, how are you? I hope you are well. So let's get started. Yeah, I hope you are well. You can welcome your friends. Let's go live and build an LLM from scratch. We are going to build an LLM from scratch, and we are in the last of doing this. It's the final day of building LLM before we get into a different project. Yeah, so I'll just continue where we had left last time. Let me continue from where we had left last time. It's very easy. It's going to be an easy project. Today it's final day. Today is the final day that we are doing the live building of this LLM from scratch. So far, we have done several things. We are building, today we are just building two components, and then boom, we are done with the whole project. So we are going to do the chat, actually the chat interface, where we are going to prompt, and then our own LLM that we have trained, it's going to give us the output. Also, out of this, we're also going to do the generate.py. So in case you want to get the project link is already in the description, so you can get it. And also everything is here. So when you check on this repository, right here, then you can get your LLM. Your LLM is right here. The procedure in which you need to download it, can it out here. Everything is right here. How to clone, how to set up every single thing that you need to. Yeah, it's already here. So you can go ahead and set up this. Everything is on the description of this video. You can check it out. So I want to activate my virtual environment. It's not on. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. So everything is ready. So the moment that we want to train our model, we are going to train our model in easy steps. You remember last time what we did? You can check out the previous video on the live build. Then you are going to get whatever we did last time. You can get whatever command that we did last time. Last time we were training the model. We did the training process. So in case you want to train, just navigate to Python train.py. When you follow this README file, it's going to guide you. Make sure that you activate your virtual environment, then you can run Python train.py. So whenever you run train.py, it's going to run this, and then it's going to take some time and train the model the way it should be. So yeah, very simple. So today we are doing the main core parts that now everyone might be interested in checking it out. And it's basically two features, basically two in one, because I'm just writing two different files. The chat interface, where now you can text, then you get an output from our trained model. Then you are going to build a small engine that is going to enable us to train the model. So our main focus on the code will be focused on the chat, but I think for today we can copy and paste the generate.py, then we can explain what everything is doing right here. The generate.py is not hard thing. So I believe we can just copy, then we are going to do the chat.py so that we understand the logic. This one is easy. This one is not a lot of work. Basically, these are comments. So for us to understand what's going on here in the generate.py, we want to create a file that is going to help our chat, or it's going to be the helper of the chat now to do what? Whenever you text something, then it's going to our brain, then our brain interprets whatever we asked, then the generate.py is the helper. So first of all, we need to pass our JSON. So whenever you're communicating with the database or with something, we need to communicate in terms of JSON. So we need to convert everything in terms of JSON. Of course, we are using our PyTorch as usual. So from model.gpt. So in case again, from model.gpt, we are getting this library from here. Remember this one we created by ourselves. From the folder model.gpt file, import simple GPT function. So import this simple GPT, this class here, what we are calling a function in our case. So that's what exactly is happening here. So we are doing for the cross-checking, crisscrossing and checking to find out all these files. So from configuration, our configuration file is this one here that you see here. From configuration, get device, and getting device, you remember that we calculated our device. We wanted to get our device. The device is the machine that we are using, the hardware, the software, all those components is the machine that we are talking about. It's the machine that we are talking about. That's what we are getting by device. Looking at the previous videos, we know there is something or some things that we defined. That is the vocabulary.json. So in this helper function, this does what? Loads the vocabulary. Now, this is what happens here. So for example, I ask my model or my GPT some questions. But because the model is trained, it will go to the model itself, the vocabulary JSON. Then it will try to interpret according to whatever question that is one is asking. Can it find it in the list of vocabularies? Can it try to figure out where we are getting the vocabularies? But in a normal programming way, we need to do several things. So the moment that we are telling it, go to the vocabulary.json file, and the vocabulary.json file is literally here in the data. It should be here. Yeah, can see vocabulary.json file. So when you check at this vocabulary.json, I think you remember how we achieved all these. I think you remember how we achieved all these kind of vocabularies. When you check at the previous videos or when you follow this documentation here, you are going to get how we got all these vocabularies by looking at the previous trained data. So basically just go to the vocabulary JSON file and do the normal file handling with Python. So with normal file handling in Python, you are going to get the open. You are going to use the open in read mode. So basically this is the read mode. Then of course we are going to open it in an encoding technique, that is the UTF-8. We are going to open it as a file. So basically this function is just telling us, you know what, we have some questions that are incoming. Go ahead in the vocabulary.json file, then try to load that file for us. Basically load that file for us. So we create a function here that we do the conversion. So when you check at this vocabulary.json file, you can see we have this keyword that we are calling stoi, story. This one basically stands for string to integer, string to integer, story, string to integer. So basically, so I want to get in the vocabulary.json, I want to get this data that is the string to integer that has already been converted. So when I go to the vocabulary.json, first of all, I want to get what? All this string that has been converted into integer. This one here, and it must be ending somewhere. Yeah, this one here. String to integer. So basically that's what we are getting, and then we load the data inside that particular file. Just as simple as that. Then, of course, if we can convert string to integer, that means we can convert integer to string and vice versa, because we need to understand our AI what is doing here. Because we can see by default, this has been converted string to integer by default. Now we can do the opposite by reversing that activity, and that is integer to string. Then you can just convert it to integer just like that. Then you can return the string to integer and the integer to string that we just defined right here. So in our activity in the computation terms here, that means whenever we create or whenever we ask question in our um, LLM, it should follow all these procedures. Before you generate any output, make sure that you go to the vocabulary.json, then think through, convert everything string to integer, integer to string, then you return that output. First, before you even give the user the answer that they have been requesting for. So something else that we need to do is loading our model. Loading our model. Loading our model is very simple. Just define a function to load this particular model. And to load this particular model is very simple. So we just define view variables right here. Then you load this particular model. So when you check at the previous video that we did last week, then you can get all these. We are just explaining what happened here last week before we even continue to the next steps. So the previous video offers all these guide on how we did all these kind of things here. So the next thing that we did last week was generating a text. Now, how do we generate a text? A simple thing. How do we generate a simple text? A simple text, this is a thing that we use to generate a simple text that we used to generate a simple text. So one thing that we did over here is very, very simple. So we generated a text, or we can generate a text, and basically this means, so whenever now we ask our AI to give us an output, now this one is now generating the output. So basically it's generating the text. So of course, to generate a text, we need to use the model, we need to convert the string to integer, we need to use the integer that has been converted to string, we need to get the prompt, actual user question. Of course, remember that we need our AI to be limited or to not overspend the tokens or anything. We need to define maximum number of tokens. We need to define things like temperature, the accuracy, all those kind of stuff. And of course, because it's AI, it's using a lot of power, we also need to get the device and the CPU so that our AI is well optimized. So basically, in our case, we are just trying to avoid to creating this data center using these NVIDIA chips, all those kind of stuff. That's why we are scaling it to CPU, all those kind of stuff. So in the process of generating the output, our AI should, or our model should consider all these guardrails. They should consider us in all these guardrails. So, so you can get something like if, so we need now to know if a user has asked any question or they do not have any question in the output. For example, you can see when you go to your GPT, you can write something and then submit, and then it gets you an output. But what if you have not created, what if you have not created anything? Then how does it happen? So if in our input we have a prompt, then it checks all these kind of things. It checks the prompt IDs, then the string to integer that converts, and then it checks all these kind of regulations, and then also it gives you all these kind uh, of restrictions. So in case we do not have any input, then the context should be 0. So basically we are trying to say, so if we do not have any question, then we don't expect any answer, no context to answer from. Basically, no context to answer from. And that's what we are trying to do over here. We explained all these things in the previous video. You can check it out. Also, you can get the code in the description. You can check out the code in the description. When you click the description, you can get the GitHub repo, and you can fork that repo. You can fork, you can give it a star or something, or you can clone it. Yeah, you can clone the repo. And this is the final part that we did. That is the returning of the main function. So basically these are just simple things that we did. So let's go to the main file for today. That is the chart.py that we want to write our code for today. So we want to write code that now we combine all these things, then we now can start chatting with our model. So we need to train our model, then we need to do what? To start chatting with our model. So how are we going to do it? You can check out the link or the links in the description. You can get out the repo. You can get out the repo. They are already there. Everything will be cool. You can check out everything, guys. So in case you have any question, also you can say hi on the chat. You can say hi on the chat, and where are you watching from? You can say hi on the chat. So basically from the next session, we are going to be back now to vibe coding. Like vibe coding, asking questions and just typing normal text and then sitting down and waiting for things to happen. You're just going to sit down and wait for things to happen. So what do we need to do here? Okay, we can go on. We can go on. Now we want to write this chart. It's a very short file. It's a very short file. It's not big. It's not big. It's a very short file. So we need to import. We can pass the JSON. Also, we need to import, as usual, our torch. That is PyTorch. And also we need to import argument parser. So we need to pass some few arguments, then we can import system. Sys is the system. So of course, remember that now we want to interact with the chart. So we also need to import the model. So from model.gpt gpt import simple gpt, import our simple gpt. So as well from config, we are going to import the get device function, get device function. So you are going to import the get device function as well, so that now we can do all these things. So basically we want to interact with our model, then we want our model to understand our device. So we want our model to understand our device. So several things that we need to keep repeating ourselves. Very simple. And we have already done here in the generate. We have already done here in the generate. So we can basically repeat this same code right here. This one here is the same. Now in the process of generating the chart, we need to load the vocabulary. And the vocabulary is going to be read from the data vocabulary.json that we just explained some few minutes ago of what this happens. So here in the load chart, in the load chart. So in this chart, just so in this chart, there are several things that we also need to do, which is not that huge. Actually, we are repeating most of the things that we have already done here in our generate. So in our generate, we have the load model. In our generate, we have the load model, in which this is the same function that we need also to repeat ourselves here. So because it's already loading the model, so it's no big difference here between generate and chart. So basically the generate was basically to generate the output, Now here is the interface that is being used here. So actually I think this is the same generate file. Let me check. The generate.py and CLI. Let me confirm quick first. This is the generate text. Actually, it's slightly different. Okay. So, not a big deal, not that different. So yeah, we can do it. So we loaded our model. Basically, we loaded our model right here. Then what we need to do next is now create the generate function. The generate function, in which in the generate define generate, and in which this generate is going to have several variables, in which we're just going to copy these same variables right here. Can just copy the same variable. So we have the model, we have that, we have the prompt, maximum number of tokens, in which do we need this? We don't need to define the maximum number of tokens here, because we have already defined here in the generate.py, so we don't need to repeat the number of tokens here. The temperature, we do not need to define it again because it's already defined in the generate. Then the top number of tokens can be integer, or we can say instead of integer, in case we lack that, we can assign it to none. And also the device, you know, already you have assigned this CPU, so we don't need to reassign it again here. So this one can remain just like this. Then over here, now we can write the function. The function that we are going to get the chart IDs, in which the chart IDs is very similar to this. Where is it? Still the same line of code for anything. Say for C in prompt if C is equals to this. Yeah, it's fine. So now we can check if not in ID. So basically what's happening here? So we want to define here IDs, correct spellings. So we need to get this the string into integer for any character. Basically this C stands for character. For any character, basically it stands for any character in this prompt, then track that character, basically track that character. So you want to track any character, we want to loop through the questions. In the process of generating the output, that's what we want to do. So basically this does this in layman's terms. So the moment that, for example, we are writing anything, it's going to loop through these characters, then going to check is it inside the dictionary that we defined. And remember the dictionary that we are referring to, the string to integer, that was inside this vocab.json, in this vocab.json. That's basically that we are trying to loop through here. So anytime we are typing any character, loop through this and check if that character exists in where? In our vocabulary.json. So if it's not in that IDs, then I can return IDs to an empty string. So there's nothing to answer. Basically, there's nothing meaningful that we can answer our model. There's nothing meaningful that we can give to our model. So after we return this empty, an empty list. So we can do something else here. Now, let me indent Control-Shift-P format. Okay, I don't think I have Python code formatter. Python indentation. My code looks ugly. So let me install a Python formatter. So if I save Control-Shift-P format, okay, format with it seems prettier is not working. forcing its way. It's fine, it's fine. It's okay, it's okay. We can just do it like that. I can just indent. Let me just do normal indentation. I wanted the auto indentation, but it's fine. Huh? Okay, so because it's generating some output, we need to give it some context. And in this context, we need to use the PyTorch dot tensor. We are going to use the tensor. And then over here, we are going to pass the IDs in a list. Then we are going to get the data types, the D type, the D type, the D type, in which is going to be torch, in which you're going to format into a long. Then, of course, we get the device in which it's assigned as the device. So here we want to get the context. The context is the torch.tensor. We are going to assign to IDs, D type, and then everything like that. So the next thing that we need to do is to get the output IDs here. So in with the output IDs, we are going to get the model dot generate. The model dot generate, in which is going to depend more on the context. It's going to depend more on the context. Of course, remember that we assigned maximum number of tokens. Then, of course, it's going to use the temperature that we had here. You remember this temperature here. Maximum number of tokens, temperature, then I think we only need this. Do you need the top? I'm not sure if we need this, but let me check. Let me just have it here for now. Okay, now after we assign some context in our output and everything right here, the next thing that we can do is now get generated IDs. So generated IDs is equal to the output. This output IDs, you see this output IDs here, it's equals to the generated IDs. So it equals to the generated IDs. So in which you are going to count from index 0, take everything from index 0, add this into the list, dot append to list, and which after appending to list, we are going to get the length of the IDs. That is equals to the length, then IDs. I think my spellings are right. Then we are going to end our function here. Let me check. Generated IDs equals to the output, starts from index 0. You append it to the list, and then you calculate the length of that generated IDs. Yeah, looks fine. So now this is the function that is going to be used to generate the text. Now, because we have generated the text, there's no way we can get the output unless we return the output here. So we can use the empty string dot join, in which the join is going to join the integer to string, in which we are going to get the integers to string. We are going to get what? We are going to get some loops for I in. For I in, if I anything does not exist inside here. So let me check. We are going to return empty, but of course, empty string that we are going to join with the integer to string, we are going to join with everything inside that dictionary, And if there's nothing here, basically we can just write a loop here for us to check that, for us to check generated IDs. I think this is cool. So this code is basically doing something simple. Now we want to generate to return any possible output right here. So of course we can return something empty, or otherwise we can get the generated IDs. So the generated IDs, remember how we got the generated IDs here, and we got the output right here. So we can get the integer to string that we are going to check if that does not exist. So for anything in generated ID, so basically return everything in generated IDs if does not exist here. So I think that is the main function for generate our chart, and I think now we can use our function. Now. I think we can try to ask questions in our GPT. So first we are going to train it. Remember that we have never trained. So last week we trained a little bit, and which we stopped training in the middle of the training process. We trained and we stopped in the middle of the training process. Let me check. Or maybe we can add some more blocks here. The other one is unnecessary. So basically the rest is just printing out the chart. The rest is just printing out the chart, or this function here, or this function from here is basically creating an interactive what do we call it, an interactive terminal right here. So we have an interactive terminal right here. So basically it's just getting the device, loading models, just those simple text that we are going to see in the terminal. So basically loading text, whatever, all those kind of animations. Then of course these, we don't need this, it's just telling us, these are just try catch to catch errors in the terminal. In case, for example, what if we try to write something, then it's not able to reference from our model. That's what we are trying to do, the error handling right here, in which we need to refer from that. And of course, let me see if we have something necessary. Nah, you can see all these are prints. While, oh yeah, this is necessary here. So this one is just checking the user input. So try, if the user inputs something, then we have now the input field for us to type something. So if we have something, some user input, then we can strip that and then try to get whatever the user is asking. If it's break, if it's continue, or if it's everything else, then you'll do this. Basically the rest are just helpers. For example, if I want to help from the model, I can just type the word help, and then I get some hard-coded kind of functions. You can print out the temperature. Yeah, these were unnecessary for now. We don't need to pay more attention to these unless we return the main function, in which we are just going to return the main function is equal to blah 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 main return the main, just like this. This one should be the name, not main but name. Yeah, there you go. And I think our code should work apart from this line here. So this line here, it's referencing to the wrong file. See where our generate is. Where is our chart? Our chart is here, so we need to go inside the data. We need to go inside this data and then go inside this data. So it should be data slash vocabulary.json. So that's okay. Let me check in the generate. We have generate, we have the same issue. Should go to data slash data. Anything else? Not really. Not really. Not really. So remember that we have never trained our model. We have never ever trained our model. So today we want to see if we can train our model and it works. So where are we training our model with which data? Remember the data that we downloaded here from this data, from this Shakespeare's tiny data. So this is the data in short. You can follow this link, and this is the data that we have, that we want to train our AI with. See all this data, it's a lot. It's a lot of text. So basically this is a lot of text. So we want to basically train this text such that I can ask anything from this text and then I can get an answer, a tailored answer for this. We can get a tailored answer. So this one is very simple. So we want to train that data. But first, before we train, I want to try if my, let me check if I followed every step. In the README. Quick reference, we need to run this file, run prepare, run train, then run text. So the training of this model takes way too long than expected. So we can train this model for 30 minutes all the way to 4 hours, trying to understand whatever context that we have. So for us now to avoid checking all this, training all this time, I want first to skip and run python chat.py, python chat.py, and just make sure that everything cross-checks clearly. Maximum tokens, yeah, there we have some errors. Which file? Chat.py. So I just want to make sure that first I have this file. Maximum tokens is equal to integer. Let's just assign to 500. That was there before. Temperature float, or we can assign it to 0.8. Let me see if we have anything else. Integer tokens. This can be, let me leave it like that without the none. Integer, that's a problem, man. Let me check from the generate.py and almost use similar things. Integer, that is equal to 40. Equal to 40. Device. What is the device? Not showing. Device is equal to CPU. the chat.py. This file seems to be working. No problem so far, so we're just waiting for it to finish all the processes. So remember, this is not the final thing, where now you have a very speedy or a very fast user interface like GPT or something like that. Yeah, we are getting some errors. Python chat.py error, no such file or directory. Vocab. That means chat. Vocab.json. You have missed something again. Vocab. There we go. I've seen it. Slash data. Data slash. Yeah, we are missing some files. Let me just check if all these files are referenced correctly. Model. I don't know if this one is, if it's going to work. Let me see. Now this one should be working. We should be able to chat with our model that we did some few seconds of training. Oh, model simplegpt.pt. That file does not exist clearly. Clearly that file does not exist. So let's check from our existing file. If we have something that we can copy, just more text that we can copy and depend on it. Okay, let me open this file. It's a lot of text. Open anyway. So I can just copy this, the entire thing, go to model, create a file, simple underscore gpt dot pt, gpt.pt. Now you guys, this is a lot of text. Don't know how you are going to copy all this. For sure, I know it's going to break. It doesn't even copy. It's fine. So let me check if we have something that breaks again, because we have the file now. There we go. Encoding techniques. You have an error in the main line 152, 153 chats. Okay, let me check. Chat.py. This one is main. I don't know why. Main. Okay. is still the same file. There's nothing that needs to change except some few names. Apart from this, data/data. Then we have here data/data. Okay, let me check if this one runs with no problems. Okay, I mean the same problem, so no difference. So it may remain with the existing one. So what we are going to do so that we avoid all these errors, first we are going to train the model. It might take some time. We might not complete the training process. So the rest, you can just go and train it by yourself, but I'm going to show you the training process. So the training process is very simple. We're just going to run this train.py, and in which it's going to be Python train.py. Then it's going now to train our model to our standards. So we're just going to wait for some few seconds and see if it really starts the training process. So this one, we have said it can take for more than 30 minutes. So we expect it now. Whenever it fails, there's no output, just know everything is looking cool. Just know everything is looking cool, because it takes some time. It takes some time to train. As you can see, it's trying to train. Step number 1, training. It's taking its time to train. There's no hurry in the training process. So basically it's training the model. Yeah, so we can wait for it to train. we are going to end the live there. Then, yeah, after that, everything is now cool. Everything is now cool. Everything is working well. Our model is ready. Whenever we train and we feel like our model is ready, you can go ahead and now use your model for the desired use case. For the desired use case. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining. So we just wait for it to train. You can wait as much time as you want for it to train. Then you can later do away with the training process. Yeah. So that's it for this video. So next we are going to embark on vibe coding. Vibe coding. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys for watching this out. I hope you learned something. See you in the next one.